Welcome to this session where we're going to develop our countertops in 3D. And I'm working in the counter design drawing, which is the link drawing. And I'm going to make a rear counter now. I've got the front counter made with a cutout for the point of sale system. And I've got the espresso machine in there. And now I'm going to make the rear counter. So you all know how to do this extrusion. And I'm going to make this part of the counter a little bit higher than the front part. The front part of the counter I have at 2 foot 10 inches, which is going to comply with my ADA requirements. And the back part of the counter I decided I want a little bit higher. I'm going to make it 2 inches higher. So I'm going to make the extrusion end at 3 feet. And to keep things simple, I'm just going to select the standard walnut that's already in the program. And I'll be able to use this same material in the other part of the project. So the materials are going to cooperate. So we're going to make another component, and it's going to be in casework, and it's going to be the countertop now. And this will be for the front part. And I want a little bit of an overhang on the front part because of the way that I'm going to end up doing the base. And we've talked about the 3-inch recess on a base cabinet, but if you overhang your countertop enough, you can make up for that recess this way. So I'm going to separate this part of the counter just for now because I'm just showing you how, and I'm developing this design myself. So what I just got was the pick tool, the pick line tool, and I'm picking the countertop that's already there, and I'm going to break it at this line and just get rid of this other part. And now I'm going to offset it 2 inches and let it be on copy there so that I have a 2-inch overhang on all sides of the countertop. Now I don't need it on the inside. I made a mistake there. I'm going to erase that. But I don't need it on the right side. I'm going to end up extending that a little bit later. Now, it doesn't work really well to fillet the curves, and it's going to change the diameter if I do this. So I'm just going to add a small line to join this gap. I'm going to check off on that for a minute, but I'm going to check on the material, and I don't have my solid surface countertop, so I go back and I manage that and get that in there. So making your materials in advance is very helpful. And here's where I'm going to update the material so that I can find it later under stone, and I'm making the material, and I've preloaded a library. This is called Material Package 1, and I just have it in a file as I've suggested for you to do. And of course I'm going to change the scale to be appropriate to the sample that I have. And actually I ended up deciding that the 1 foot scale was the better. And so you just have to experiment and look at it and then come back and fool with it later. Now I'm going to put a void extrusion inside this countertop before I check off of it for the final time. So I'm still in the first level edit mode, so I can put this void. It knows I'm working with this extrusion, and I happen to have the floor plan in wireframe visual style, so I can see underneath of the counter. So there I've made the countertop cutout. I've got it in solid surface. I've got my extrusion in the back, and I'm going to proceed on to make the countertop in the front the same method that I've done before. And we'll come back to this in just a minute. So here we are. I've made the countertop extrusion in the back, and now I'm going to make a cutout in it for the sink. And I don't need to make the cutout, or I can make the cutout for the in the extrusion below as well, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. So we're going to look at it, and here my countertop is too low into the counter itself, so I need to go back and edit the extrusion in order to be able to raise it up again. So I can edit it in this 3D isometric mode, and I go back and edit the extrusion. I have to click in a couple of times, and I'm going to move it up from the bottom of it being at 3 feet to the bottom of it being at 3 feet and raising up to 3'2". And there I have my countertop made. Now we're going to make some interior elevations inside of this project as well. So we know to get our interior elevations by clicking on them. And I ended up deleting the left elevation, but I want you to end up keeping all views of it. This is where we're going to make our cabinet drawing that may be separate than our other file or in addition to it. So I want you to go through to each elevation and set it up to be specifically for a cabinet elevation. This is going to be in every view. You're going to have to manage that elevation and how much it shows. We're not interested in the restaurant part at all. We're only interested in the cabinets. This is merely for your cabinet elevations and details. Alright, so finish that up. And we're going to begin to bring in the equipment into this drawing. We're going to work with the equipment in this file because this is where we're going to manipulate our cabinetry. So I've just brought in the under counter refrigerator, and I'm going to have to go back and actually cut out the counter or the cabinet below in order to fit that refrigerator, and we'll see that in a minute. But here I am changing my extrusion to come around that bar sink. That's a really tiny sink. And some of the equipment you're going to have to bring it up above the counter and look at it in 3D and understand, and maybe from this video you'll see some of the clearances we're going to need. So I cannot change that extrusion here. I guess I could edit it in place and do a void, but I'm going to manage it from the floor plan, from the view that I made it in. So I'm going to go to edit in place, and I have to touch it again in order to be able to edit the extrusion, get back to my sketch mode. So I'm going to put a way to separate the lines, and instead of making short lines I like to use fillet instead, and of course it's going to unjoin some elements, and that's all fine. It's just some warning things. And I'm going to have to put in another line in the back, but that's very easy. So now I have the cutout in the cabinets, which is how it would truly be built. And there we go. The refrigerator fits under there, and I can see that my soda machine needs to come up probably to 3'2" in order to allow for the thickness of the countertop and how that particular model was made. And I see the sink needs to be managed in that way as well. So make things accurate for your particular view. You can see I had a difference in the two countertop levels. Here we can see the finished counter, and so you'll be able to update that in the other file and see it in your restaurant in the next video.